Good evening, Mayor Muller, City Council. My name is Belinda Dinas, Principal Planner, and I am pleased to present to you the initiation of a general plan update and a request for proposals to conduct community engagement. The City Council has already given its bird's eye big picture direction for this general plan update. The City Council set aside $1 million in the general plan reserve account for this effort, and in the city's recently adopted strategic plan, the City Council identified the general plan update as a priority project. Looking forward and beyond through a lens into the future, the city's general plan is a long-range policy document that guides the city's physical development. It is a comprehensive collection of goals, policies, and actions that reflect this community's vision and its values. Originally adopted in 1991, the Dana Point General Plan is over 30 years old and long overdue for an update. Most elements have not been updated since the 1990s except for the housing and public safety elements, which were revised this year as required by state law. The plan itself is comprised of both state-mandated and optional elements with specific topics as shown, and each element is required to be internally consistent and coordinated with one another. Furthermore, three of the elements highlighted in yellow make up the certified land use plan of the city's local coastal program. I like to think that this image reflects the purpose of the general plan. Ultimately, we are charting the city of Dana Point's future. We intend to create a robust plan that navigates our community into the next 20 to 30 years for all generations, especially our youth. We hope to paddle together and reel in answers to these simple questions. How did we get here and where are we now? Where do we want to go and how do we get there? To initiate the general plan update, staff proposes two distinct phases. The first phase is visioning, and the purpose is to engage the people of Dana Point, locals and spectators alike, with a dedicated communications and public relations plan and implement a comprehensive community engagement program. This involves educating the community on city planning, gathering input and data from the public and various stakeholder groups, and receiving City Council direction and Planning Commission recommendations on identifying key concerns and issues. This phase will establish a clear vision statement with a set of values and guiding principles to facilitate policy development. Phase 2 is plan development, which involves bridging phase 1's community input, data, vision, and values into the policy priorities and actions that result in the actual amendments to the general plan itself. Once the draft is prepared, there is an environmental review and public review of the final plan. The project follows the general plan amendment procedures as specified by the Dana Point Municipal Code, which requires recommendation by the Planning Commission and ultimately approval by the City Council. This is the planning process for a 21st century comprehensive general plan. The process involves setting the stage through our visioning in phase 1, developing a general plan update in phase 2, ultimately implementing the plan and continually evaluating progress as it relates back to the city's vision and values. Most importantly, community engagement serves as the foundation at every step of the planning process through authentic and diverse public participation. I won't get into the details, but know that we have every intention of applying the best planning practices and focusing on the process to have successful outcomes for the city's general plan. Also, this system shows that the general plan is not just a document that gets updated and sits on the shelf once it's adopted. Rather, it is an active guide that will continually lead Dana Point into the future. Here we are, excited and ready to jump feet first into a huge endeavor, which will require significant leadership, resources, and support from the Dana Point community. Staff recommends that the City Council initiate a general plan amendment for a comprehensive update and directs staff to request proposals from qualified public engagement consulting firms. As for next steps, city staff will return to the City Council by July with a recommendation for contract approval with an engagement consultant. Once phase 1 of the project has been completed, the City Council will review the results of the visioning exercise and project scope. We will begin phase 2 with a separate RFP for preparation of the update and associated environmental review. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions regarding the initiation, request, and general plan update process. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dines. I'm going to get that right one of these days. I always say Dines. I don't know why I do that. But do you have any questions from council? Madam Clerk, any public comments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and close it and bring it back for for a motion on this.
I'll move the item.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? I have a quick question on this. So you're going to get back to us in July just with the RFP, correct?
Correct.
Just
It
we're
would
going
be
to send out the
contract.
RFP. So we're not actually going to start phase one until after we select our consultant, and then that'll start phase one, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I was a little confused because I was reading in the staff report that phase one was going to take 12 to 18 months, but you're going to be back to us in July. So I was like, that's pretty quick. What is the ultimate plan on how many community meetings we're going to have, outreach sessions? How are we going to get out to the community to figure out what they're thinking, what their concerns are? Do we have any idea on that, or are we dependent on the consultant for that?
We will rely on the consultant's proposals to determine an appropriate outreach plan. We'll rely on the consultant's expertise to give us a framework for what the engagement program will look like.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Steins, I know we're going to do separate RFPs. In general, would you think we would end up with the same consultant for all three phases in general, or is it common that we might have different consultants?
In other cities, I've seen examples of both. So there could be a consultant who will team with the consultant that ultimately prepares the general plan update. However, the engagement consultant specializes in public relations and communications in that sense versus the traditional planning firm that does the plan preparation and environmental. So I've seen it both ways where a planning firm will have in-house engagement specialists who are well-versed in the general plan process.
Got it. But if they are different, consultant for visioning, they're expected to basically hand over all documentation in whatever format is needed for consultant and plan development and so on.
Correct.
Great. Okay. And when we do the RFP for visioning, I want to make sure we don't scale down on the community engagement. I know just how long it took us to do the strategic plan, and then the great work we did down in Doheny Village. Community engagement is so critical there that I would probably ask the city manager to feel free to make sure that it's a critical component in that. And if we need to realign budget going forward, I think that community engagement is probably an acceptable reason to potentially update the budget. With that'd be all I'd have to say.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Dines, for a great report again.